updates, 2 million accounts, and 1 million live stream views. Opening the show, it's the Mighty Five. They are so 2007. Put your hands together for the old school RuneScape team. Mod Ash, Mod John C, Mod Matt K, Mod Reach, and Mod Rune.
Great. So, good morning and welcome to RuneFest, everyone. In case you hadn't realised, we're the old school team. And 12 months ago, almost the day we released what was probably the most important update in old school, and that was God Wars. I think it was then that you guys realised the potential of what old school could be. And since then, 8 new bosses. We've had Motherlode Mine. We've had Rooftop Agility, 2 huge skilling pieces of content, both designed by players. We've had PvP updates galore from this guy. PvP Worlds, we've had Rejuvenation of the Wilderness project, we've had Bounty Hunter, which is proving massively popular right now. And, nice one. And that's put me completely out my stride. No, we've had hundreds upon hundreds of quality of life updates, from things as simple as right-click teleports on your menu and bank tabs, which was absolutely huge. But throughout the entire thing, it's been you guys. You've decided what wants to go in game, and together we've done that to make old school really great. And so yeah, there we go. This is the team. Let me introduce you to everybody. Like you don't know. Clicker. Yes. Yes. Which button is it, do you reckon? That one.
There you go.
Where's my presentation? It's on here. There we go. Here we go. Ash, senior content developer. He makes the magic happen. He's responsible for things such as, what do we have, bank tabs, God Wars, that's all Ash. We've got Dan, another content developer. If you've killed something, or you've been killed by something, that's probably Dan's fault. John, now, he makes sure the magic you guys works. He was one of the driving forces behind Clue Scrolls. And if a boss needs, or any monster needs a drop table, John does that. And then we've got Rune, community manager, hashtag the bowl. Get it trending, yeah. He makes sure the magic that you guys are getting is actually what you want. We've got a couple of people up here that aren't here. We've got Mod Ghost. He is our artist and animator. He joined the team, what, 2 weeks ago now? Yeah. You'll see loads of his artwork in this presentation. There's tons of really nice stuff. Yeah, he makes all the models, he makes all the in-game stuff, and then we've got Mod Weath as well, our anti-cheating expert, and he bans all the bots, gets rid of all the real-world trades of people we don't like, and he's the one responsible for that. Does a fantastic job. Over 500,000 accounts he's managed to ban since old school came out, so absolutely amazing. There we go. So far, so good. So what we're going to talk about today. As you can see, me and Ash are going to have a chat to you about polls and the priority poll. And Dan and Ronan are going to take you through the new continent. We've got some great stuff in there. The Corporeal Beast, John will take you through that afterwards. Right, future of polls. So, one of the most important things about old school is you guys and what you guys want. And the way you express that to us is through the polls. So we put them in game, and this is what we've seen since we put them in game. Over 90% of polls, or 90% of votes that get made done from in game, and we see the amount of average votes double, which is fantastic. One of the things you did come to us and say you were quite concerned about was sort of polls being diluted by everybody getting a much easier access to the polls. So we made a pie chart. And it is actually a pie chart. This took hours. Spoke to Oggy afterwards, and he said it should be a red berry pie, but we decided summer fruits was better. Anyway, we looked at the question of the Corp Beast and the Sigil. Should it drop the Elysian, the Arcane, and the Spectral? And it's the closest question we've ever had. It only passed by 300 votes. We broke it down into sort of how much XP each voter had. And as you can see, only 9% of our voters have less than 1 million XP. And over 60% have more than 10 million XP. So that shows that there's a big weighting towards the high-level players. And across all parts of the pie, I suppose, they're very similar. So we're not seeing new players coming in and voting the way that most of the community don't. And it's, as we can see, the vote passed. So that is great. Now Ash wants to talk to you about some other stuff for voting.
So yeah, like Matt says, with the introduction of in-game polls, we've got quite a big change to how people are voting and where they're voting. And that means it's perhaps time to look at some of the other changes people are talking about with regards to how we run polls. In particular, the big one, 75%. Is it time to change it? Now, we started with 75% for a reason. It's a high threshold, because back when we launched in February 2013, a lot of people were concerned that if old school were allowed updates at all, it would, rapidly diverge down some route that they didn't like. Now, we set a high threshold so that for an update to happen, the whole community would really have to be behind it, and it wouldn't be scraping through with like 51% support and upsetting half the players. But now you've got a better handle on what updates we're likely to poll, what updates we're going to poll, what updates we really aren't ever going to poll. We'd be willing to, poll removing the 75% threshold, take it down a bit. But you'll have to tell us what you'd like it set to, because some say 66, some say 70, could even go higher, although I'm not sure there's much demand for that. Or we could leave it where it is, if you feel that it's working nicely already. Now, other changes we can do with the polls regarding in-game voting is to take away the website bit. Now, when we first offered in-game polls, we promised we'd leave the website there at first. And the reason for that is that a lot of people said they'd like that option to be there, but as Matt's shown, a lot of people ain't using it. And it's holding us back a bit. Take the abstain option. It's a popular thing to be able to say, I don't care about this question, but I want to vote in the other ones. At the moment, people are having to vote in questions even if they don't have an opinion. If we do an abstain option, the way I'd like it to work is that, the people who voted yes or no, we calculate whether there's 75% yes out of those, ignoring the ones who voted abstain. And the website isn't very good for showing that kind of result. It would just show the three categories straight out. Now, we could ask our web team to reprogram the website so that old school polls work completely differently to RS3 polls. That's quite a bit of work for them, and with respect to that team, they've got a lot of work already. It would be quicker and easier if you guys were okay for us to remove the website poll form altogether and just have the in-game one as the official way of voting. And as we've shown, most people are using it already. So we would like to do abstain. I know it's popular, and that's one of the things we'd like to do to make it work better for you. Apart from that, quick and easy, once you've voted, the chance to go back to the poll form and change your vote. If you see a persuasive argument in the week of discussion that goes on for the rest of the poll, you might actually want to change your mind, and we'd like to let you. We don't have to do that, of course. There's a lot of people who said they don't want to see votes swinging back and forth like a yo-yo. But we think we'd like to put that to a poll and see how people feel. And finally, voting requirements. At the moment, the website knows about skill total, it knows about your subscription. It doesn't know your quest points or how long you've been in game or anything like that. And for people who said they'd like us to change the voting requirement away from just skill total, so it's skill total or quest points or a lot of time in game or some combination of the three, anything you like really. If we moved the voting to be just in game, we could actually do that stuff for you, something we haven't been able to offer before. So with the changes to polls, now's the time to change some of the rules that you've been thinking about for a while, and we'd like to know how you feel about it. Thank you.
Cool, so. We did a priority poll. We've done three in the past now. The last one was back in September. These are results from it. Dan and Rune will take you through the top one, the continent. Ash and I want to talk to you about Slayer and achievement diaries. So Slayer, you guys know Slayer's really popular. It's been popular in RS3. It's popular in old school. It's one of the best skills out there. I see Erin particularly likes it. Well done. So yeah, this is what we want to do with Slayer.
So Slayer assignment lists. We've had a lot of feedback over the years that we've been running, well, 1.5 years that we've been running, about the way the masters assign you monsters. In particular, there's some slight oddities out there. Duradel, he's one of the top Slayer masters for high-level people, and he gives you harpy bug swarms. And Childish, he gives you banshees. And if you want wyverns, well, Childer's got them, I think Neve's got them, but Duradel doesn't, for whatever reason. Now, people will say, well, can you add an option for unlocking this, an option for unlocking that? And by and large, we'd like to, and we've done quite a few of them. But we're starting to find the codes getting in the way a bit. In particular, It's getting harder and harder to tie more exceptions in because the original Slayer code, written in 2004, it just wasn't expecting there to be exceptions. And when people ask about the relative weightings of tasks, we can't give a straight answer because half these things depend on which tasks were higher up the list in the code, which you can't see. So what we'd like to do is just rewrite those lists from scratch, or invite you to rewrite the lists from scratch and post it on the forums for us. And then we can start afresh, give the lists that each master's got, the relative weightings of each monster on there, and then it'll be a lot easier for us to add things, remove things as you unlock toggles and buy things with the reward points. And I think that'll give us a lot more scope in the future for other requests. In particular, combat levels from Slayer. Dark Beasts, you can't get a Dark Beast task unless you've got a combat level of 110, I think it is. You don't need 110 to fight a Dark Beast, but that's what Duradel thinks. Now, we could take those requirements off, or we could leave them on, but first, we'd like to kind of restructure the code a bit so that it's not such a hack when we try and do it, because the last thing I want is to end up with a Slayer assignment list that just falls over when you try and get a task. So we'd like to restructure the list, but we'll put it to a poll before making any of these changes. Apart from that, high-level Slayer tasks. There's two ways we can go about it, and we'd like to offer you both of them. Firstly, bosses. There's a few bosses out there, Zeah springs to mind, where you can't have her as a task because she doesn't really correspond to a Slayer category. And we can't have Flappy Bird Women as a category because she's the only one in it, really. So if we go with bosses as a category of Slayer target, then you could get all your Slayer bonuses, like your Slayer Helm and other things that Reach going to mention later, to work against her, perhaps, which might go down rather well, or perhaps not. We'll be polling it. Apart from that, higher level versions of existing monsters came out in RS3 back when the Smoking Kills quest came in. We could do it too, and then people who've got like a Banshee task who are quite high level, they can go for a tougher kind of Banshee, maybe get a reward that's more commensurate to their level and the effort they're putting in for it. And that way, yeah, when you're a high level person doing Slayer, you can maybe get a better XP rate than you can when you're stuck on a tedious task. Doesn't have to make the skill unbalanced, of course, and better drops as well.
Cool, so one of the things you've come to us and said is we want new ways to train Slayers. We've been looking at sort of doing some group content. Imagine you're in a room with all your mates, you're in a dungeon, you've got Slayer monsters coming out the floor, coming out the ceiling, coming out the walls. Different Slayer monsters, maybe a Necreal, maybe half a dozen Abyssal Demons, maybe, I don't know, crawling hams crawling across the floor. And it's up for you and your mates to stand in there and stay alive as long as possible, getting that Slayer XP while you can do it. We could even use things such as the Slayer points to be able to buy time in this dungeon, so that there's a way of turning your Slayer points into XP while still doing more Slayer. And again, there is of course the co-op Slayer. Even though it failed last year with 67%, you guys keep coming to us and say, we want co-op Slayer, we want to share our tasks as our friends. We've been looking at that as well, and one of the ideas we've came up with is if you go and get a Slayer task, you get 200 Necreals, for example, you share that task on your friend, they will get 100, you will get 100, you then go toddle off and kill Necreals until you've done it all. And that way you can play together. Go for it.
So on the screen you can see a great big, well, Abyssal Demon boss. That's an idea for an Abyssal Demon boss, that is. Drawn by Gareth, Mod Ghost, our new artist, who's not here. We knew that with the release of the Cave Kraken boss and the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, you went and called it, we'd like to do more of that kind of thing, because people who've been grinding on the same high-end monster for a while, maybe give them a change, something bigger and tougher with better drops. And speaking of drops, the Abyssal Dagger, drawn by Mod Alfred. Give him a cheer.
Stand up, Alfred.
Go on. Yep.
Stand up, Rob.
We miss you.
How's your hangover this morning?
Yeah, he drew that on a live stream in like half an hour or something with thousands of people watching online. Impressive. Anyway, we'd like to get it in game because we like it, and if we had an Abyssal Demon boss, we could do that. Now the Slayer shop. We didn't give you very many things you could spend your points on. We know we should come back to that. Rune springs to mind, like RS3 has. We also think about maybe some more ammo. And there's 4 slots for blocking Slayer tasks. We haven't got enough quest points to unlock the 5th yet, but if you've got ideas about how you'd like us to do it, yeah, send them in. Maybe we'll do that instead. Maybe we'll... It seems unlikely we'll be adding a lot more quests in the immediate future because they don't do very well on priority polls. But if you've got something else you could have us unlock it from, we could do that. And finally, Hellhounds. People seldom like hellhounds very much because they don't drop anything. We'd like to rework hellhounds. If you've got requests, send them in. In particular, Mod James, the live streamer, he went and modelled a 3-headed hellhound boss just for fun in his spare time. I don't know why, but I like it, and we'd like to have that in-game as well. So when would this happen? Now, we've got some fairly big projects on at the moment, and Halloween, Iron Man, we'd like to look at resizable, and we promised you a trading post a while back. So I think it's going to be early 2015 when we're kicking off with the Slayer project. But we'd like to... here's what we're thinking about, and we hope we can deliver a selection that you guys like. And if you'd like something else instead, tell us that, and we'll poll that. Thank you.
So, achievement diaries, just in case you couldn't read that. They're popular, RS3, really popular in RS3. We want to do the same thing. You keep telling us you want to do the same thing as well. We don't want to do them one every few months. We want to do them all at once. And we've had a sit down and try and planned out how we would do them. A lot of these, see, look, animations, it's great. A lot of them you'll recognise. There are a few new ones on there. There's a Wilderness Achievement Diaries. There's one in Taranwin. There's a few islands that are covered which aren't covered as well. And we want to offer that. And Ash is going to take you through what sort of things we're looking at.
Yeah. So one of the questions we often get asked is, if you do achievement diaries, will they be like the ones in RS3? Or will they be different tasks? And the answer is, you choose. Hey, we can copy from RS3, or we can write something different for you if you prefer. Now, Mod John C's been running a thread on the forums for a while now, inviting people to suggest tasks they'd like to see added to them. And got a request there. Now, I like tasks that are kind of themed to the area, especially. For example, in Sears Village, you have a task where you pick some flax in the area and spin it on the wheel that's in the area, and fletch it there and chop a log in the same area. And that way you've made your bow in the fletching area. And I like that kind of task, so I'd like to have more of that kind of thing, if you wouldn't mind. In particular, we came up with ideas like anchovy pizzas. You can do the fishing and grinding the flour and all that, all in the Lumbridge Drainer area. So that's the kind of thing that could go on the Lumbridge Drainer diary list. Blah. And also Catherby. You could pick your own irrit leaf from the farming patch that you've grown and kill your own unicorn, grind up the horn. Send us ideas like that and I'll love you for it. Or if you'd like something different, send that instead and that's what we can offer. Now, there is one thing. On this screen, you can see there's a guy standing on a church steeple jumping off. You won't necessarily recognise the church steeple because that's on Witchhaven Church and you can't point the camera that way. But that's what it looks like, honest. And the reason it's there is that with the rooftop agility we did last year, one of the things on the blog that we never launched was the ability to just climb famous buildings, like your lighthouse, your wizard's tower, apparently Witchhaven Church. The idea was just climb it for the achievement, and maybe we'll stick something nice up there for you. Could be an opportunity to get a rooftop farming patch in, why not? So this would be a nice opportunity to come back to that idea that we just dropped out of the rooftop agility project for time constraints last year. And yeah, achievement diaries. We hope to be working on that late 2014 for launch early next year. Obviously, if you've got other requests, we might end up shuffling that. But that's the plan so far, and if you'd like something different, let us know. Thanks.
Right, so it wasn't an accident we chose 11 achievement diaries. It makes it quite nice for a possible reward. As you can see there, Gareth has made us quite a fantastic looking outfit. And with 11 rewards, we can do 11 different items, which includes jewellery, includes weapons, and you actually have an outfit that matches. What each individual item does, it depends, it's entirely up to you again. It can be very much down the road of RS3, such as an Edgefield furnace, or a cabbage pot, or the other one I've got written down, coal trucks, adding more coal to your coal trucks. Or it could be something completely different. But again, the end result is that you guys will decide what the achievement diaries will be, the tasks you get in there, the rewards you get from it. And that is what's going to make it really good. And now, Dan.
Yes.
Go for it now.
So now the big one. For a long time now, we've been talking about a big expansion to old school RuneScape, a new continent out to the west, a new huge landmass, something that will give us a new era of game design, a new era of stories, somewhere we can develop a new platform for our future. From a lone dev blog, we've introduced and exposed you to some upcoming ideas such as a Colosseum and various other things. And now I'm going to present to you the new continent, Zeah.
Reasonably often is why a new continent? And if you get any old school player at all to list their fondest RuneScape memories, odds are you're going to have something on there like completing rune mysteries, running around Varrock like a noob, or hitting a 10 on Delrith and then screaming at your mum to get the camera. It's always about the exploration and discovery. There's always going to be something in there from that. And a new continent would give us a massive amount of content to give you that exploration and discovery. It doesn't matter what level you are, whether you're level 10 or 126, on the new continent you will have no clue. You will be a noob, full stop. So that discovery will be all there. It will really expand the horizons for old school, as there's going to be an entirely new landmass. You're going to have an entirely new area separate from everything else, so you can keep the nostalgia of the rest of the game intact. The thing that brought everyone to old school to begin with, while also giving them a brand new addition to the adventure.
So we've already exposed you to a few parts of the new continent in the first dev blog, so we're going to expose you to a few others now. This is one kingdom that we've called Great Kurend. It's a huge populous city embroiled in political anarchy. It was run by a lone king who brought 5 districts together. With the death of that king, those 5 districts, those heads of houses of those districts have decided that they want to fight for power. So we have 5 families now who have different ideas, and you as a player can come along and you can influence the population to side with that family. We wanted to make your decisions mean something. At the moment, the gameplay is rather static. You can't really affect anything. You can annoy an NPC and it wouldn't react to you. It would just say hello to you the next day. So we'd like to make your decisions really mean something, really engage what you want to do and what direction you want to take the game in. With this, we're going to allow that by allowing you to engage with these families and side with them, take on their ideology and convince the wider population to sort of join you in that side, and you're going to get some benefits from that Rune is going to take you through.
So you've got the Shazien family and their master warriors. If you were to side with them, you'd get access to brand new weapon stores, new training areas, and area-specific mounts as well. One thing in old school that has never been, well, in RuneScape in general, that's never really been a possibility is mounts. With the new continent, we can build the game around the idea of mounts and give people an area where it would actually work, because you're not exactly going to have a good time running through Varrock on the back of a 5x5 black dragon. You'd be bumping into everything, it just wouldn't work. And the next house, the second emblem in there, is the Piscarilius family. They are the masters of the ocean. They have the best transport links, and they catch all of the fish for Great Kurend. If you were to side with them, you get access to stuff like sea fishing, new transport links, all sorts. The badge in the middle there is that of the Lova Keng family, which Dan has so kindly put a J on the end of, just to make it that a little bit more difficult to pronounce. They are master blacksmiths. If you were to side with them, you get access to new ores and gem resources, as well as the ability to craft new weapons with all the resources you're gathering. The fourth badge there is the Arceus family, which has a U with an accent on it. Come on, Dan, give it a rest.
RuneScape's popular for that.
They are masters of wizardry, and if you were to side with them, gain their respect, you would get access to new rune essence mining locations, as well as new spells and a new rune altar to craft probably soul runes at. And the thing about new spells is that we've been talking about this magic PDC, a new spell PDC for a while, player design contest. And because of that, people have been spamming in great ideas for loads of different spells, so we have an absolute mountain of great ideas to go into a new spellbook that you could get from that family. And then finally you've got the Hesidius family, and they are master farmers. They are at one with the land. If you were to side with them, you get additional farming plots where you would get accelerated farming times as well as increased yields from your crops.
Now, we know everybody loves PVM. We love PVM. We've just delivered Corp to you. So we've been talking about a raid for a while now. We'd like a real raid dungeon. It didn't come that high up in the priority poll, but with the new continent, with areas to fill, we figured we'd put one in there anyway. So we're going to talk about our raid, the Paradigm of Exodus. Now, this is an enormous PvE dungeon, a huge, huge dungeon. And inside is a huge, huge dragon. We've been talking about dragons for a while, and it was actually one of the community members that suggested we do a dragon. So we're going to take on that idea because it's a community-driven game. One unique thing about this dungeon, though, is it's very similar to, imagine Virago meets Dungeoneering. It's going to be a progressive raid style, but imagine that Virago-esque sort of size, that scale, that burrowing down the burr hole. We're going to sort of take that on, and we're going to sort of elaborate that into a much more bigger, expanding, randomly generated, not really set to a particular routine style dungeon. We're going to have, obviously, the random-generated elements. No room's going to be the same, so if you go back through again after doing it, you're not going to experience the same route. It's going to be different every time. We're going to have puzzle mechanics, much like dungeoneering again, so you're going to have to work as a team to summon demi-bosses in there to sort of really progress, complete puzzles to get your team through. So we figured that'd be a quite nice touch. It's generally going to be an epic boss fight, so we're imagining maximum party size of about 30, minimum 5 for all the hardcore people. Although I imagine there's going to be some people who want to do it with a 4-man, 3-man. Obviously, we have our Wookses out there. So this is going to be generally a massive, massive fight. We haven't really got much information at the moment about it, but it's going to be really expanding. I think that was drawn by Gareth, our artist. I think if you can notice, the tail actually extends outside the volcano, which gives you an idea of how big and how far we're going with this. We kind of expect it to be, if we get resizable mode, our first resizable mode boss. That's how much we're looking for in terms of scale. But again, we know everybody loves PVM. We love PVM. We have some PVMers out there already. So we hope to really entertain you with a proper raid, because some of the bosses we got right now don't really cut it. Another new area, actually, this is next to the volcano, a new area called Corporeal. It's an ancient city inside a volcano, and this area is only accessible to the strongest and most agile of you out there, so agility will actually mean something for this. Inside of it, you'll be able to gain access to the new race called the Tasakal. They're born and bred guardians. They're born for combat. They were born into combat. They embrace death, even their own. They're the guardians of balance, obviously naturally assigned to Gothics. They don't mourn their dead. They embrace death. Death is life to them. And one of the advantages to these people is they are slayers. We're going to do another expansion to Slayer again. We know Slayer is very, very popular. We're going to have new Slayer creatures. Obviously, it's a new continent. You can't expect to have the same NPCs on a new continent as you do on the main map. So we're going to have new NPCs for that. Being guardians of the life and death and being as raw and natural as they are, obviously they live inside a volcano. A volcano symbolizes that raw and natural power. They're guardians of Slayer, they're guardians of bosses. They challenge bosses. What better NPC to challenge if you're sort of an engaging warrior than a boss? So these are going to be boss-specific Slayer Masters. They're going to assign, much similar to the Soul Reaper update that RS3 got recently, they're going to assign bosses specifically. And any task you get exclusively from them to do with bosses, we're going to try and introduce new Slayer gear. And obviously we have the Slayer helmet, which is a combination of all the Slayer items, which are very, very useful to you, built into one helmet. And that Slayer helmet is rather left alone. You're left to your own devices to try and find other pieces of armor to equip with it. It doesn't really match anything, so we'd like to introduce new Slayer gear specific to these Tasakal, which will help you go through Slayer. We could even look at doing a Slayer model update for the Slayer helmet. Put a toggle on it for those of you who are nostalgic enough to really like it. But we'd like to do another boost to Slayer, and we thought, well, since we've got a new continent, we've got a new race, let's put some Slayer Masters on it as well.
So what's next for the new continent? Well, considering it came about 5,000 votes ahead of any of the other suggestions in the previous priority poll, we're going to be going all out with the development of Zeah as of 2015. So you guys can expect to get constant updates on that throughout. And the thing about this is Zeah is planned to be about 50% of the current map. So think from Prifdinus to Falador, that kind of size. We're going to need your help to fill all of that with as much great content as possible. So as usual, we need you guys to be absolutely throwing ideas at us left, right, and center, non-stop on the forums, Twitter, Reddit. Any ideas you have, whether they're good or bad, or you think they're good or bad, send them our way. In the end, they're all going to help. So make sure you're giving us as much feedback as you can. This will really turn out to be a community-driven piece of content from the bottom up. So anything you have to say about the new continent, let us know. And I'm going to pass you on to John now to go over Corporeal Beast.
There you go. Can we get the slideshow back, please? Is it back? Where? Woo. Right, that one. All right, the Corporeal Beast. Who's hype? Next week, next Thursday, it's coming out. Woo! I was hoping for a bit more than that, but oh well. All right, well, what I'm going to talk to you about is our development process for the Corp, take you through the stages that we went through to get it from an idea to be able to get it released. And if you played, well, I'll start from the ground up, really. My notes have sort of gone already. If you've played any form of RuneScape in the last 8 years, 6 years even, you know what the Corp is. It was released in 2008 in the summer at the end of the Spirit of the Summer Quest series, and it remains to this day a very popular piece of content. And ever since Old Schools came out, you guys have asked us for it. But we never really had the resources to be able to deliver it until earlier on this year when Alfie, who's over there, joined us and started modelling. I think I can move over. Here's
Hi guys, I'm Mod Alfred. Today I'm going to be showing you the development process of the Corporeal Beast. This was my last big project and I hope you guys enjoy it. The Corporeal Beast was a big update in RuneScape 3 and a lot of the old school community wanted to see it implemented in game. Old school have always been building assets in Jagged, whereas RuneScape 3... Hi guys, I'm Mod Alfred. I can import RuneScape 3 models into the development process of the Corporeal Beast. This was my last big project and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, there we go.
The Corporeal Beast was a big update in RuneScape 3 and a lot of the old school community wanted to see it implemented in game. Old school have always been building assets in Jagged, whereas RuneScape 3 have been updating and now using 3ds Max. I've also been using 3ds Max, and through recent updates I've discovered that I can import RuneScape 3 models into the old school editor. The only problems I had, well the biggest problems I had was that it was just the base model and everything else needed to be done for it. The colouring, the labelling, the rigging, the animations, everything. Nothing could be imported into the old school editor just because of its limitations. So the next step I had was to recolour the whole Corporeal Beast. This was quite tricky because I had to select every single polygon and recolour it bit by bit. As Corporeal Beast is such a big boss, he requires a lot of labelling. Over 180 in fact, and these can range from the front left tooth to the back middle toe. The rigging stage is where we create the boss's skeleton. Every point in the skeleton has a function, a rotate, a scale and a translate tool. This allows me to have a lot more control whilst I'm animating. The next stage after rigging would be animation. Every character in RuneScape has their own unique set of animations and the Corporeal Beast is no different. To give an example of how I build an animation, let's take a look at Corporeal Beast's death animation. So his first frame would be him in his idle position, his middle frame would be him in his most exaggerated position, and his last frame would be him in his death position. In between those animations, I would add some tweening to make the animation look a lot more natural and smooth. This is a very important stage of the process, and all in all, it took around 20 to 30 hours to make.